Hey guys, welcome back to Trending 10s. Today we're going to be looking at 10 infectious diseases that could be the next pandemic. Before we get into the video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss any of our banger uploads. Without further ado, let's get right into it. At number 10, monkeypox. It's a rare disease caused by an infection with the monkeypox virus. Many of the symptoms are very similar to smallpox, as a widespread pustular rash with fever and exhaustion. When people come into contact with the virus from an animal, human, or even materials that are contaminated with it, this is when the transmission of the virus occurs. In order to be safe, make sure to be aware of contact with the wildlife, especially with rodents and primates, and even people who are contaminated with lesions and body fluids. Luckily, the Johnston vaccine, which is also known as Imvamune or Imvanex, has been licensed in the United States to prevent monkeypox and smallpox. Global travel and trade in pets has caused monkeypox to spread from Central and West Africa to North America and European countries such as the UK. Anyways, all resulting outbreaks have been brought under control so far. At number 9, Rift Valley fever. The viral disease commonly affects domesticated animals, but it could also affect people if they do come in contact with blood, body fluids, or tissues of infected animals. It's also known as the mosquito-borne disease, so through bites from infected mosquitoes, you could also get infected. Common symptoms of this disease are you'll feel muscle aches and fever, but more severe cases can cause blindness, brain swellage, or uncomfortable bleeding. Several countries in Africa have reported outbreaks for decades. Since 2000, Rift Valley fever outbreaks have expanded in the Middle East. As a disease particularly sensitive to the El Niño phenomenon, the increase in extreme weather events related to climate change drive an increased risk of spread. And number 8, Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Another disease that commonly affects animals is Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever. Most commonly, this can be seen in livestock, but recently there have been reports to confirm that people can get infected too. Animals usually get this through a bite of an infected tick, and people will be infected too if they come into contact with those infected animals. At the first stage of the virus, it causes flu-like symptoms and sometimes light sensitivity or stiffness at the neck that people might confuse with measles, but later on patients can develop severe, uncontrollable bleeding. Commonly, this is found in countries like Asia, Africa, and the Balkans, where the tick species that spreads it is found. At number 7, Zika. Zika virus mostly causes mild disease, including fever, rash, and muscle pain. However, in 2015 and 2016, it caused an alarming phenomenon of birth defects referred to as congenital Zika syndrome, in addition to a higher risk of miscarriage. Babies born to pregnant women infected with Zika are at risk of microcephaly. More recently, scientists have observed that babies previously born with no visible symptoms could exhibit problems such as vision loss later in infancy. Zika virus is spread by Aedes mosquitoes, which also transmit dengue and chikungunya viruses. The rapid spread of the Zika virus in the Western Hemisphere in 2015 and 16 demonstrates its pandemic potential. At number 6, Nipah. Nipah is a bat-borne virus that causes Nipah virus infections in humans and other animals. We need to be aware of it since it's one of the deadliest diseases with a high mortality rate that can kill up to 75% of the people it infects. It can cause extreme brain swelling, the symptoms of which are headache, stiff neck, vomiting, dizziness, and falling into a coma. It's especially common with fruit bats in the Southeast Asia, and in there were frequent outbreaks in 1998. It will spread through close contact with infected pigs and raw food contaminated with urine or saliva from infected bats. Infection through respiratory secretions such as coughs and sneezes when people are in close contact can also occur, even though the concern is that the virus could mutate to spread more easily. And number 5, SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome. SARS has already caused a global pandemic back in 2003, infecting 8,273 cases and killing 775 across 37 countries, which looks relatively insignificant now compared with COVID. But there's no guarantee that the SARS virus won't return and cause much greater damage. Similar to COVID-19, the virus is thought to be transmitted by respiratory droplets produced when an infected person sneezes or coughs. Unlike COVID-19, however, when people are infected with SARS, they seem to always have severe symptoms, making them easier to identify. At number 4, MERS-CoV, Middle East Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus. This is one of 3 coronaviruses to cause significant threats to global health in the last 2 decades. As a viral respiratory illness, it's thought to spread via respiratory secretions such as coughing, but this has not yet been proven. So far, MERS-CoV doesn't spread easily from person to person unless they're in close contact. At number 3, Lassa fever. Another deadly virus, same as Ebola and Marburg, is the Lassa. It's a viral hemorrhagic illness that damages organs and ruptures blood vessels. What's even worse about this is if you get infected with it, severe disease will affect the liver, spleen, or kidneys. Commonly, it can be transmitted by the urine or feces of mastomys rats native to Africa via contaminated household objects. Lassa fever regularly causes prolonged outbreaks in several countries in West Africa. And number 2, Marburg virus disease. From the same family of viruses as Ebola, Marburg causes similar symptoms as Ebola and is spread in a similar way, through contact with the blood, bodily fluids, or tissues of infected people. As with Ebola, burial practices that involve direct contact with the diseased person can drive the spread of disease. It's incredibly deadly, killing as many as 88% of people it infects. And at number 1, Ebola. Ebola is another deadly virus that causes problems with higher blood clots, and it can only be transmitted if there's a close human direct physical contact with infected bodily fluids, especially blood, feces, and vomit. As a result, families of infected people and healthcare workers are at extremely high risk. In December 2019, the first vaccine to be approved in the United States was RVSV-Zebov. The most recent outbreak of Ebola in the Democratic Republic of the Congo seems to be nearly over, yet health officials are not standing down just yet. Well guys, thank you so much for making it to the end. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to Trending 10s, and ring that bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching.